мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции.
President Putin called this a special military operation, but it's clear this is a full-scale invasion. Russian troops and tanks have entered Ukraine on all fronts. All these cities are under attack, including the capital of Kyiv, which has become Putin's main target. Many are sheltering in basements and metro stations across Ukraine. There have been hundreds of casualties and over 500,000 Ukrainians have been forced to flee their homes. This is one of Europe's largest wars since World War II. Since then, Europe's map has been shaped by political alliances. But now, Putin wants to redraw Europe's map by force.
These are his words. He said that he considered the disintegration of Soviet as the biggest geopolitical disaster. And in the same vein, he said that whosoever do not feel the pain of the disintegration does not hold heart.
Putin has long claimed Ukraine belongs to Russia and they are one people.
We're not just close neighbors, we're one nation.
But why does Putin believe this? Is there a geography to the history?
That Russia is a prisoner of geography, because the Russia's resource-rich region lies in its periphery.
In the aftermath of the war, West did not sit silent, but it was not too loud also.
The economic sanctions leveled against Russia by the US and its allies are the harshest ever handed down.
But have they really been successful in crippling Russia's economy?
Even US has imposed sanctions. This has not impacted Russian economy badly.
Did Putin really realize the main war objectives?
Russia was looking for an immediate victory, and
Or has it really had any impact on the world order?
the decline of West and the rise of West.
And how everything will be impacted by.
Until I came along, I said, everybody's going to pay. They said, well, if we don't pay, are you still going to protect us? I said, absolutely not. They couldn't believe the answer.
February of 2024 marks 2 years to the war. And to understand what is the genesis of the war, what are the implications of the war and how it's going to impact the geopolitics, we have with us our PSIR faculty, Rahul Puri sir.
Ukraine and Russia war is completing 2 years, has completed 2 years, day before yesterday. And sir, this is the most long-lasting war that Europe has seen after the conclusion of the Second World War. The relationship between Russia and the Western countries were already not very good. But what is the reason that Russia decided to finally attack Ukraine in such a decisive manner exactly in 2021-22?
So, Vaibhav, so many aspects have been discussed about the war, how war has changed the Europe, and what will going to be its impact on the world. But the least analyzed impact of this war is that why the Russia decided to go for war in 2022.
Yes, sir.
So again, as I'll say, again everything goes in the past. So it is just that 2022 Russia decided to go for that. But it was not like this, that there were no tensions which were prevailing.
Yes.
So again, the genesis of the issue lies in the European politics. Tensions were there, we all know, during the Cold War, and tensions never ended even with the end of Cold War, though the diplomatic fraternity and the community expected that as the Cold War is over, now everything has changed.
Yes.
So first thing, the leadership which is there in Russia, that is Putin, he has openly said this thing even to the Western reporters who are able to have an interview with him. These are his words. He said that he considered the disintegration of Soviet as the biggest geopolitical disaster. And in the same vein, he said that whosoever do not feel the pain of the disintegration does not hold heart.
Correct.
Okay. So this shows that the leadership of Russia nurtures and aspires, they still nurture and aspire for what? The strong control over the periphery. Then if I tell you more about, if I take the discussion a bit more into detail, there's a scholar called Kaplan, and in his book, he has written that Russia is a prisoner of geography, because the Russia's resource-rich region lies in its periphery. So whosoever will be the leader in Russia can't afford to be too democratic. So Russia's geography as such that Russia is bound to be an authoritarian state. So the genesis of this war lies in European politics, it lies in Russian geography. And it was very clear then when in 2014 Russia took over Crimea that a much bigger military conflict is bound to unfold. Now, coming back to your question that why Russia did in 2022,
Yes.
the reason being the belief of Putin that US no longer commands the same kind of power which US was holding earlier when US went for withdrawal from Syria and Trump administration announced withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Right.
So Russia was very sure US will not going to take a strong stand for this particular war, and that exactly what we saw also, that after much deliberation US agreed to support Ukrainian leadership, that to only weapons and the material support.
Just the supply.
Yes, just the supply. Didn't intervene directly into this war. So this was Russia's confidence. But what Russia was hoping for a immediate victory, that has not happened.
It has dragged on.
Yes, it has dragged. But the roots of this war lies in this aspect that Russia felt that US will not be able to do much if Russia will go for a military action. Now, in the initial stage of war, Russia was able to make rapid strides. But stiff offensive came from Ukraine because the support started coming from the West. So, in this aspect, Russia is also not able to achieve all its political and military objectives through the war.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the kind of elucidation that you do. And that is a very new perspective that has come to my limelight, which basically leads us to believe that it was a confidence, it was like a extrapolation. And you can say that in this sense, Putin has come out to be a geostrategic thinker because he could foresee and calculate that US will not be in a situation to intervene directly.
We all know that he worked with KGB.
Yeah.
So, and he is authoritarian, so he do not need to take the opinion of the people also
That
into
is correct.
consideration. And one more thing I want to come to your light is, now there is an organization called OSCE. I have seen students are not much aware about this organization, and this makes this organization also very important for this year pre
Even I
also.
am not aware about
Yes,
this organization.
OSCE stands for Organization of Security Cooperation in Europe.
Yes.
And the roots of this organization lies in Helsinki Accord, which was signed between US, West and Soviet during Cold War,
Okay.
which is known as the detente phase, when the steps were taken towards the peace between the two poles.
Correct.
And after the end of Cold War, it was changed into OSCE.
Ji.
This is the only organization where Russia is involved with Europe towards the European security.
Okay.
And because OSCE prevails, this is the reason why Russia has always put the question mark, why NATO exists. And this is why, when we have OSCE, when Europe is involved with me for European security, what is the rationality of holding NATO? Why it has never been dissolved?
Yeah.
So this is the first question asked by Russia. Second thing, verbal assurances came from, it is documented verbal assurances given to Soviet leadership during when the Cold War, when the Soviet was about to disintegrate, assurances given by the Western leaders and US that they will never go for eastward expansion of NATO. But time and again, we have seen new and new countries joining NATO, which creating insecurities within Russia. As I said that Russia can't afford to see the territories which lies which Russia considers as its sphere of influence, that is the Eastern Europe. Russia can't afford to see the presence of NATO within this region. And this is the justification given by the Russian leadership. If we would not have started the war, all this would have been going on within Russia. So their justification is they are fighting for their integrity, sovereignty, their defense.
Correct.
Which even UN permits that you can use force for your defense, the same justification being used by Israel.
Right, sir. But sir, as you rightly said that the war has dragged on, because if you go back, so in 2013, the first direct offensive taken by Russia, where it annexed Crimea, Sevastopol and Donetsk,
In 14.
eastern parts of the Ukraine, which mainly consist of ethnically Russian people
Yes.
who identify themselves as first language as Russia.
Yes.
2013 to 2022, 9 years, 2022 to 2024, direct confrontation for 2 years. How do you see this war going forward from now? How much toll or what is the impact overall of this war on Russia?
So, as we all know that Russia was looking forward for a immediate victory, and Russia was particularly hoping that the way Russia was successfully able to achieve its objective way back in 2008 in Georgia, similarly Russia will achieve its objective in Ukraine.
Okay.
Now, it is the Western narrative that Russia had acquired Crimea through force. There is another side of the story also that according to Russia has acquired as per plebiscite, which is as per the free will of the people. That is, the people have the right to self-determination. And this is where we see double standards among the West, because on the same issues, West and Russia have taken opposite stand. Because there is another issue called Kosovo. West recognizes the independence of Kosovo. Russia is not ready to recognize the independence of Kosovo. Russia recognized independence of Crimea, but West is against independence of Crimea. So there are a lot of, it's double standard, it's geopolitics, power politics.
Correct.
So Russia's justification of annexing Crimea is that it was not annexation, it was the protection of the right of self-domination of the people of Crimea. Okay. Now this war, how this war has changed Russia is the first thing that it is increasing Russia's dependency on China. Now it is bringing Russia is under pressure to embrace China more closely. Okay. And this is the reason the leaders of both sides have said their ties goes beyond the limit. Okay. So it is increasing pressure on Russia to embrace China closely, increasing dependence. And this is where Russia also do not want to reduce or Russia does not want to impact its ties with India. Because at the same time, this makes Russia important for India too. Second thing, we can see that one side Russia was trying to push forward the threat of NATO, but now the border of Russia with NATO has increased as Finland and Sweden has joined. So further, it has increased insecurity for Russia. Third thing is Russia is becoming more authoritarian. So the saying goes that if the post-Soviet Russia was a managed democracy, the post-war Russia is an authoritarian state. So rising authoritarianism. Fourth thing,
even today I was reading the newspaper and one of the opponents of Putin was found dead in his body. So I think there is no opposition to Putin.
Yes, so it is becoming authoritarian state from managed democracy. So post-Soviet, students can use this line also writing answers in main. That post-Soviet Russia was a managed democracy and post-war Russia is an authoritarian state. Fourth thing, we have seen the rebellion from Prozovin. Okay. And this clearly reflects everything is not going well within the army in Russia.
Correct.
Okay, so this is making state more coercive and authoritarian. So these are the things which what I can see is that this is how Russia is drifting more towards authoritarianism. So this war has impacted Russia too. Though West wanted to hurt Russia economically, Russia is able to manage that because of its increasing engagement with China and India. And
so its traditional markets have deteriorated, but it has managed to find new markets to trade the same natural resources like fossil fuels, and also it has found new market for its defense technology. That is rightly put, sir. So taking forward from here, can we really see the global world order changing as a result of this conflict?
For sure, this is the broader picture. The most rational question which we can ask is, can we say this war is changing the world order? And for sure, yes, that we can clearly. This is very visible that world order is changing. First thing is that you can clearly see that there's a difference of security issues among the global north and global south. If global north is seeing this war as a threat, global south is not concerned, they are neutral. Because both India and China decided to project half of the humanity is neutral towards this war. This clearly reflects that security issues are being perceived differently. What is threat for them is not for us.
Correct.
So segregation of issue, first thing. So now the lines are more broader now between the global north and global south. Second thing is that even West has imposed sanctions, even US has imposed sanctions. This has not impacted Russian economy badly.
Correct.
This clearly reflects the rise of global South because South is engaging with Russia. This has not impacted Russia's economy in any way. So now North do not hold the complete power which North was holding earlier. So we can see the decline of West and the rise of West. Okay. And the third aspect is that how this is impacting the world is, as I said, one thing, different security issues are being perceived differently. And so, as I said, two things. And the third thing is, even we can see that within US, there is no consensus towards this particular war. As there's in US Congress, Republicans and Democrats are on the opposite side. And just few days back, Trump, one of the main opponent, and hope probably that he will become the president, that he said that it is the European states who need to contribute more for European security. And if they can't do that, let Russia do whatever Russia wants to.
Correct.
So this clearly reflects US is no longer wants to play the role of a global policeman. Okay, so for sure this war has changed the world order too. In these, so for sure, we can clearly see that the world order is changing, and and strong alignment is emerging between Russia and China has already emerged because of this particular conflict and war.
Thank you so much, sir. Obviously, everyone was waiting, and we are getting a lot of messages to kind of summarize this important topic. And I hope this particular podcast is going to help our viewers to understand this issue in great detail. But if you'd like to summarize, correct me if I'm wrong, sir. The first thing is that it was a shrewd calculation by the Russia
For sure.
to choose the right time to attack Ukraine. Because of the preoccupation of United States of America in different problems, and obviously during the times of COVID, Russia thought it's the right time, opportune time to attack Ukraine, and it has not led to huge devastation of Russian economy as was calculated by the West, because the West responded by supplying arms and ammunition to the Ukraine and by deploying a lot of economic sanctions. Both of them seems to be failing on ground. On the same hand, there is some failure of Russian state and especially Putin. They were thinking it to be like a blitzkrieg, where the Hitler had hoped that they would conquer the entirety of Western Europe in one day. It did not happen, and it has dragged on. And obviously it is going to have an impact on both internal state, which according to you is turning more authoritarian. At the same time, externally, it is going to have a huge impact on how we see the global world order. Thank you so much, sir. Keep on coming on the platform to throw light on such complicated issues. At the same time, we hope our viewers will like this video, like the efforts, and please let us know in the comment section what you feel about this particular podcast. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, Vaibhav, I will keep coming till the time you will keep inviting me. Okay?
Yes, sir. I always invite you for the podcast.
Okay.